ain't doing it to rock for change. You got love for the game.
Welcome to Love of the Game. I'm your host, SJ, and today we've got a special guest. We've got St. George Illawarra legend, Jamie Soward. Thank you, Jamie, for joining the show today.
No worries, brother. For the next 45, you can call me Sowie.
Sowie?
Yeah,
beautiful.
bro. We're friends now. We're friends.
Nah, beautiful, beautiful. Look, we're going to have a quick recap about everything that kind of makes you you. And we're going to start off with, for me, kind of the most important thing at the moment, your two baby girls. How has fatherhood been treating you, and how have you been enjoying that process?
Yeah, for me, I get emotional talking about it. hit me straight away. But for me, fatherhood is something that I pride myself on, being a good dad. I'm a strict dad with my girls. I want them to learn the values that they're going to be able to, be an adult and teach them stuff like that. So, I take good pride in being a great father, and I consider myself a really good dad. They changed my life. When Maddie, my wife, came into my life, I sort of started life over again. And, I've sort of, I joked about it with my wife. I sort of said, I've had 3 lives. I've had pre-rugby league from 1 to sort of 19. 19 to 30 was just a blur of everything, and we'll get into that. And then I started another life again when I met you and had kids. So it's funny how life can take you in a different direction. But those 2 girls, I mean, you say you'd do anything for them. I literally would do anything for them. So they've been the centerpiece, along with my wife, around everything that's good and bad in the life that's happened is taken away when I see those 3.
And the reason why I ask is, because I just got a daughter myself. She's about 8 weeks old now. And just looking at her, you kind of just picture the future and what you can do for them and how you can kind of use your life lessons to kind of make their life a better and more prosperous place. And that's why I kind of want to talk to you a bit more about that in depth later on, about the whole NRLW and the growth of the women's game and what kind of projections women's game is going to look forward to in the future, because it's growing rapidly at the moment. I'm going to talk another one of your families, the St. George Illawarra Dragon family. How big has that club and sort of that environment been for you?
One piece of advice I'll give you about being a dad is, the Tom Hanks quote about "this too shall pass." There's going to be nights, where you can't sleep.
Oh, it's already happened.
But it won't last forever. They're going to be up and grown. And your mum always said, my mum always said, like, one day you won't want to talk to me. And it's like, so you got to enjoy those moments. The other thing is, and you probably feel this now, but you want to fight everyone. You're walking down with the pram and someone comes close and you're just on guard. You're like ready to, and someone looks at the baby, you're like, don't touch my baby. Like you become real sort of protective. So, to answer your question, I think, the St. George Illawarra Dragons have been a massive part of my life. I debuted at the Roosters. I played at Penrith, and, to win a premiership at the Dragons, for me was massive to win a premiership, but to do it in the Red V, such a historic club. And then to be able to go back there, I think, the story about how and why I left in 2013 never really, I've told it many times, but it always gets twisted. So to come back and, I have to thank Hook and Ben Harron, Ryan Webb, they gave me an opportunity to come back. I'd never coached a team before. I'd been around teams and assistant and stuff like that. And the women's space is so big at the moment. And, I take my job very seriously. So to come back and be, one of the, founding clubs to be in the NRLW and what that means, and the great players that have played for the club and the great players that are going to play for the club, it's a huge honour that I don't take lightly. And I think, I think sometimes I forget to reflect. Reflection's such a huge part of life now that we don't always do, but I probably don't reflect enough on how big my part is in this. And it's not about me, but how proud I am about being part of what we're doing right now in women's sport, but at the Dragons.
Yeah. And with the whole Dragons culture, look, we're gonna get more a bit in depth about that, and especially Wayne Bennett coming in and kind of the impact that he kind of had on your career and how he kind of elevated your game. Now, in 2005, you made your NRL debut for the Sydney Roosters. I know you kind of would have been feeling sort of on top of the world. And then the next day, your father passed away. I just want to know how much of an impact that had on yourself and then your career down the track, especially early on in your career.
Um, as I've gotten older, I've understand life a bit more, as we all do. I still get emotional talking about it because I didn't handle it well at all. Um, I I remember going to the game. I went to North Queensland the week before and was 18th man. And as a young man or woman now, but all I dreamt about was playing rugby league. I mean, I was on the dole for 2 years when I come to Sydney to help fund my move up here for the Roosters, playing in Jersey Flag, working to play NRL. So I'd worked my way up. I'd been successful with Shane Flanagan in the Jersey Flag, and then also in Premier League or the old reserve grade. I played 3 grand finals in a row, lost 2, and then made my debut in 05. And the lead up to it was really weird because I was 18th man the week before. Ricky Stewart was in Origin, and he said, "You're going to play halfback this week. Don't tell anyone." Yeah, that was sticky. But he was in Origin. So Phil Gould actually coached me my first week, which is super cool. And Gus came in and didn't overcomplicate things for me. And that's, I've been lucky enough to work with some of the best coaches, but also some of the best minds in Wayne Bennett and also Phil Gould. And we set up a play. The first play out the back, first tap, we were going to go out the back and I was going to kick it on play 1 over to the wing. And we played Newcastle. They had a wretched run of injuries. I think it was Joey's last year, potentially that year, but he'd sort of come back for Origin and they had a heap out. It was 4-2 at halftime, but we scored the try, so I was up and about. We won the game 32-4 or 34-2 or something like that. Went out, got absolutely blind, on top of the world, ringing my mates. It was great. Went to recovery at North Bondi the next morning, hungover, but smiling. We'd won. Yeah, it was a tough year. They'd made 3 grand finals in a row. It wasn't the Roosters of the early thousands. It was a new sort of generation coming through. Remember walking back to the car, had the old Samsung flip phone, which shows how old I am. But I had maybe 40 missed calls from my dad's partner, and rang and sat in the car, and I had Heath Lestrange and Trent Carruthers, who had played low. Heath Lestrange, premiership winner with Manly. And she said Dad had a heart attack, passed away. I was 20. I burst. I did what you're supposed to do. I didn't know. I burst into tears. I was like, what? What do you mean? What happened? So from there, everything moved. To me, it felt like it moved really slowly, but it moved really quickly as well. I was in Canberra, organising a funeral, forgotten about footy. Pretty much spent. The club were great. Ricky was great. One thing about Stick is he was a hard taskmaster, but he cares about his players. And he was great because he knew my dad. So I sort of went through a period of 2 weeks of just pretty much drinking, and my friends would try and come down, and it was just weird. It just happened so quickly. I was one day playing at the Sydney Football Stadium, the old Sydney Football Stadium, where I'd watch grand finals, and I'd watched my first one in '94 and been to grand finals. All of a sudden, to that's it. Dad's gone, and Mum and Dad, hadn't had a great relationship. They'd split, and I just remember just being at his funeral and speaking. And I'm not a planned speaker. I speak from the heart, and I think that's more organic that way. So I sort of did that. But it was just it was a whirlwind because I spent the next 2 weeks drinking, not playing, not training, nothing. I just didn't know what to feel. I didn't know what you were supposed to feel. Should I try and train? Should I try and get back into it? And then one person, like my mother's been my rock. My grandparents, they've been there since I was born. But mum met a great man in Huey, my stepdad, and he turned into my dad. Really, he's been there since I was 10. He's seen me cry, he's seen me laugh. He's done everything with me,
Mhm.
and I'll share a good story about 2010 with him. But he just he never wanted to be. I shouldn't say that. He never tried to be my dad. He was my best mate. Um, fuck.
Mm.
Um,
No,
and he helped me, bro. Like yeah. I've never really sort of said that out loud, like and thought about it. I've said it, but I haven't thought about it. And
mm,
mum was trying to deal with losing her ex-husband and what came with that, seeing her two kids go through that. And we were trying to be there for her, and he was just so good, man. Yeah, like I said, I love my mum, and she's done everything for me, and I would never ever have played if she didn't sacrifice. But in that 2 weeks, he took me out to a reserve grade game, and he just said, "You've worked so hard to get here, man."
yeah.
And he said, "Are you going to play reserve grade or get back and do it?" And like I'd played one game, I dreamt of playing one game,
Mm,
and from there started a little bit at the Roosters, but it was a tough period, man. It was
yeah.
fucking tough.
And that's the reason why I kind of asked you, because I know like the whole Dragons family kind of helped you kind of like in a way kind of heal a bit, being part of that group. And the reason why I asked you is, look, during my lifetime, I've lost two mums, my biological and then my stepmom also. And at a young age, well, my mum passed away when I was 5, but then my biological when I was about sort of like 28. But the thing is, you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know how to cope. You're just kind of reacting to the emotions, the regret. Could I have done this? Could I have done that? And I know you not answering that phone call, that would have haunted you for a bit, not knowing exactly what's going on. But my question to you is, what can players do now in general? Because I know there's a lot of sort of problems and things like that in the game. How can players look to bounce back and use those lessons to progress their career? Because there's a lot of players that kind of experience exactly what you did.
Hmm.
But instead of that 2 week period, it goes for a month, goes for 2 months, and then they lose all those connections. They lose all the coach's trust. They lose all those things. So what's that key for you to kind of staying in the moment and kind of appreciating life for what it is?
Well, I mean, firstly, what you've gone through is traumatic at a young age. I think realizing the space you're in. Rugby league, like people don't realize in sports landscape, and this is one thing that I get my back up a little bit about when people say I couldn't tackle and all that kind of stuff. Tom Brady was never asked to tackle,
Mm,
and I'm not Tom Brady, but I played a similar position. Tom Brady was never asked to kick the ball. So you're always. My mate said it to me when I retired. He goes, "Mate, you played in a business where you have to reapply for your job every week."
mm,
And that hit me. I was like, man, and as you retire and you look back and you think exactly what you said, regret, could I have done more, all that kind of stuff. I think players now, um, the one piece of advice that I would give is I'd like to say I've got a group of friends. Within that group, I've got my tight family, which is my wife, my kids, my mum, my grandparents, Huey, my family, right? Man, I've got 6 guys. 4 of them I've been friends with for like 20 plus years.
mm.
They don't play footy. And there's been, I mean, we've had a WhatsApp group going for 10 years that you would never ever read it because it's just a boys group, a proper boys group.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff in there that's, yeah, pretty real, yeah. And then off that, they've got another group that's like, a really tight group that's a different point of view that have played professional sport that will tell you some hard truths. So you got to have people around you that look after you for you, not what you do.
Mm.
That's the thing. We make a lot of friends. Like you would have a lot of friends, right?
Me, nah, personally, nah. I don't. I probably have about 5 to 10. As you said, same thing.
But would all 5 to 10 do something that if you ask them right now, would they do it?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's all you need.
That's it. That's what I found in
We
life.
look for popularity. We look for social media. Like, when Instagram came out, thank God it wasn't around. You have to use it. You have to be business smart. I mean, that's how we connected. But yeah, man, like I think staying as present as you can, but also not losing focus as to why you get there. We never ever. I mean, you're a massive basketball fan. I love what you're doing, covering the game within the game, right? We never ever grew up shooting hoops out in the backyard, or me chip and chasing and pretending that New South Wales were down by 20 at half time and Soward scored the final try for money.
Yeah, that's it.
We did it for the love.
For the love of the
That's why
game.
podcast, for the love of the game, right? We did it. We out the back. We honed our skills. We played. We did all that. And this generation sometimes forgets that. You never ever started to play for money. Money's great. You can't take it with you. You can leave it behind for your kids. That's what life insurance is for. But everything else, man, you got to enjoy the moment right now. Like I went on this is a dad moment. You'll experience it. I went to Luna Park a couple of weeks ago. My body's rat shit. My neck's sore, my back's sore. I went on a ride with Indiana, and she loved it. I hated it. I've been sore for 2 weeks. I can't put up with what the rotor. I can't do it. Her memory of that will last forever. That's what you got to be as present as you can. So for those guys that go through it, and I've been through it. You have drinking, gambling, drugs, whatever, right? Tough times. You got to realize why you started and where you're going, and that's hard sometimes.
100%. And you make the great point about that. Having those close knit, whether it's 5 to 10, whatever it is, about the quality, not quantity. And
I got 7 guys. I got 7 guys in 2 groups, 5 in one and 2 in another. But they could all mesh into one group. But you keep it separate because the brothers, that stuff gets personal. We get personal really, really quickly. The other group's a little bit lighthearted. We're spread out a little bit, but you've got to have those guys, man.
And that's the reason why, is because, look, myself, you're opening up a bit. I open up a bit myself. I battled depression. Tried to commit suicide twice myself, going through some things that I went through a couple of years ago. And that's the reason why I created Love of the Game. Was I wasn't a social person, but I could talk to anyone about sports. And for a lot of guys, sports is kind of like that entry point to getting to know someone. And then from there, you can kind of build so much from that. And then you can kind of talk about those feelings. And once you kind of express your feelings and able to talk about it, it doesn't feel all in your head, and it doesn't feel like you're in quicksand. It kind of feels like, you know what, there is an escape route if I'm willing to get the help, get the needed. And one key point that you made about all that was the play of social media. Watching your career, I promise you, I don't think I felt more sorry for a player, if that makes sense, like not in a bad way, but all the media pressure that you were copying from fans, from players, and then playing for Dragons too, being known as the Chokers and all that during that time. And I want to ask you, before we kind of move on, Nicho Hynes, he's getting blasted at the moment on social media. Look, he is the New South Wales number 7, and the game that he kind of played kind of warrants a bit of criticism, if that makes sense. But I just want to know, if Nicho Hynes is kind of looking at all that social media stuff, what kind of advice or tips could you give Nicho Hynes?
2 parts. I just want to backtrack to your anxiety, depression. I suffer from anxiety all the time. People see an harder shell. Now, don't get me wrong. If you follow my Twitter, you call me out. I'm sometimes I have time, and I don't, and too much time at times, right? But I want to share a story, and please don't crucify me, because the ending you're going to hate.
Yeah.
But when I retired, I lost my identity. People knew me for rugby league. I was a footy player. I always joked that people didn't really know my first name. They just knew me as Soward, right? So I moved out to Penrith. Me and Maddie are in the house, and I'm sitting around. I end up getting a job at Harvey Norman, where my wife works. I was selling toilets. People were still coming in asking why I'm not at training. They still thought I was playing. I said, I'm not playing, like I've retired, right? That's stepping out of my comfort zone. Like you doing this podcast has made you step out of your comfort zone. So the anxiety is, am I prepared enough? You're super prepared. The notes you sent through, super prepared. that helps take away the anxiety about trying something new. So when I moved out, when I retired, I wasn't really doing anything active. So I joined a basketball team. I love basketball. I can't play. I'm a rondo, 2 points, couple of dimes. Yeah, that's me, right? I compete. I joined a random basketball team. My wife said, "Are you sure?" Like she knew that I don't like. If I don't have to talk to anyone, I won't. I want to. And I joined a basketball team, went up and played and got to know a really great bunch of guys out of Penrith. We won a couple of comps, lower grades. Just a really good bunch of guys. Now, I played in my Jordan 4s that I bought back. So my actual Jordans, I didn't have basketball shoes the first time, so I went and played in Jordan 4s, and I creased them. And to this day, I look back and think, why didn't I just go and buy $100 pair of cheap joggers for that first game? So I creased them. But I think the thing with Nico right now is it's about who you listen to. The other night he wasn't great. New South Wales, the game changed on his head. So what can he control? We always talk about athletes. What can he control? His kicking game wasn't great. His fifth play options. What was the plan? All that kind of stuff, right? The easiest way, if you're a reporter, the easiest way for me to say is you've never played, mate. But then you get upset. So it's all right for you to say, oh, Jamie Soward was shit. He shouldn't be playing Origin like that. And I go, well, hold on a second. You don't know. You've never played before. You don't know what that pressure's like. All that kind of stuff, right? That's the easy way. The hard way for Nico is to sit back, analyse it, and it's going to be a tough watch. Where can I get better? And go back and do that. Now, the great thing about Origin is when you play it, if you play bad in Origin, you get a chance to go and play. Like, I don't know who the Sharks play this week or next week.
They're versing Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, so don't be surprised if he gets man of the match. He's mentally strong. He's mature. He's been through so much. And Nathan Brown said this to me. I played bad at the Dragons for like a month when I got there. And he called me into his office and he said, "Sowie, what's going on?" I said, "Oh, mate, I'm preparing well. Like nothing's changed. I'm still trying to establish myself. I'd only played 40-odd games." And I said, "Oh, I'm just stressed. I'm worried. All this." And I just went through it. And he said, "Mate, you've been through things that are way worse than playing bad at footy. Like way worse." And Nico has. He said, "Mate, just you got to use that as a strength. Okay, I dealt with that. I went through it. I came out the other side. It's going to be okay." I think the next week we went out and won. I played good and just relaxed. So he's a fantastic player and a great guy. I got a lot of time for Nico. But you can't do anything about it now. The series is on the line next time we play. Just relax, do what you do. Like to see him run the ball a bit more, but you got to pick and choose who you listen to. See, the people that bag, like, thank God. So, can you imagine the social media was around when I was playing, like proper social media, not just at the start? I mean, I'd be in a fight every night, no doubt. Like, I'd have to turn off comments because I just was that person that would bite back. I've got a short fuse, but you sort of listen to who you want to listen to, like your coaches, other players. Yep. The people now, like people just go out, never played, write an opinion. Easy to do.
Because I kind of feel like you kind of made that point before about, like, who are you to kind of like say, you haven't played the game and things like that. And that's honestly a fair point because I know I was, for example, I've played rugby league since I was younger and things like that. And a lot of people are like, you know what, you can't base Nico's game on what happened because he had 12 men. But at that same time, the New South Wales forward still laid a great platform for them. They were still in that attacking sort of 20-30 for a lot of the times, but it was just the fifth tackle options. Not completing the set on the back foot. And you know how it is when you're down 12 men, your troops are kind of looking for you to make that play to kind of galvanize them a bit more, kind of like what Liam Martin was doing after he pulled off a big hit. The rest of the boys followed, but Nico's kicking game kind of let it down a bit. And that's what I wanted to mention to you. Look, before pre-game Origin 1, you made something, you said a comment that caught my eye and it blew my mind, all right? It was Iaiah Katoa and Jerome Luai for the halves, all right? And at the start, I saw it and I was like, bro, Iaiah Katoa, like, come on, man. And then you kind of dissect the game and it's about those moments, those 1%ers. And, bro, I have no idea to this day how the Dolphins are in the top 4, but it's his kicking game. His kicking game and playing under Wayne Bennett. I think Wayne Bennett is instrumental into how the Dolphins are into that top 4.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what is Iaiah Katoa learning from Wayne Bennett right now that's going to impact his next 5 to 10 years of his career?
Yeah, goosebumps. Wayne's very big on plan A. We're going to go out with our plan, and we, no matter what the score, we stick to that. And when the Dolphins have lost, you only have to look back at a couple of things, and they've gone away from what works for them. So, Wayne would say it's hard enough to beat the other team, don't beat ourselves. So we've got to complete high and we've got to kick well. And Iaiah Katoa, his kicking game's been outstanding this year.
Amazing.
Now, when I made that tweet, I looked at it in 2 ways. And I love Nico, but I looked at it from a kicking game origin. What do you need? And I didn't see Mitchell Moses play. That tweet was before he played last week. You need someone that's just going to be happy to be that person to kick and think about, because last plays, this is deep footy talk, but last plays aren't just last plays. Yeah, when you're playing against, we played against Billy Slater and Bowen and those guys, you're planning that set. Okay, what's the kick plan? What do I need here? What's the time on the clock? How are the boys feeling? Where can I put this? How do I find the ground? All that kind of stuff. I think sometimes with halves is we see them, they rush in on the last and they just kick it down because that's a part of the plan. But Iaiah, he's kicked 40-20s this year. He's kicked early, and that's off the back of Wayne Bennett trusting him. Wayne would always say, like, what are you good at? And we're all taught to be humble and not be arrogant. And he's like, well, if you don't know what you're good at, how do I help you? And I said, I'm good at kicking. And he's like, okay, you just be that guy that we can go to the kick. And I ended up being that for the Drags. That was my part on the wheel, So I think I watch Iaiah, and I watched him as a young guy, and fantastic running game. But if you go back and watch the Raiders-Dolphins game, no Nicarima, Milford a little bit different, like older Milford, obviously. Yeah. Iaiah Katoa is still doing the same things he was doing, but they didn't have Nicarima on the end of it to be able to finish that. So everything that the Dolphins are doing that's great comes off their hard-working forward back, no fuss, and they got this little number 7 who's getting around and going, okay, here's how we get the primary shape. I'm going to get it out the back now. I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to put the ball down here. And then if we saw it in Origin, the one thing I was worried about with Hines and Luai is who's the main kicker? Who makes the main decisions? Because they can both kick, but you go back and watch that period. I think Hines goes for 40-20 or Luai. Yeah. They save it. And then Cherry Evans goes for 40-20 and gets it, right? That was my worry, because Cherry Evans is a master. He knows his team can be on the back foot. He'll kick early. And that's what New South Wales haven't done in the past a lot, is kick early. Game 2, 2019 maybe, 2020. Cleary kicks early. Addo-Carr gets a repeat set in the in-goal. They score the next set. We've lost that kick early mentality because we all think we have to play out our sets. You don't have to do it every set, but we saw in the women's game on Thursday night, no one kicked early. And when they did, Brigginshaw, they got an error. It's hard to know, I'm going to tackle, I've got to run back 40, 50 metres here. So Katoa's got that nice balance at the moment. I love watching him play. He is a gun. And I just thought maybe his kick selection could help New South Wales.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And when you get into the whole deep footy talk and stuff like that, I love that stuff, man.
Did you read the Twitter comments?
I read a bit of it. Yes, I read a bit of it because, bro, I actually put on one of our group chats and then I got grilled for it too. And then, because I actually watched his game after that, Katoa's game, because, look, I saw the Dolphins in the top 4 and I go, bro, it doesn't make sense to me. They've had injuries. They've had all these problems. Their roster ain't the best, but they're still there. And I watched the game, and it's literally what you talk about, those moments like Iaiah Katoa can read the game perfectly. If his team's struggling, I'm going to kick it deep. And even his long kicking game, when he kicks it to the wingers, they're right on the 5-meter line, plenty of height. His wingers get back. They jam him in a corner. The next set, they get the ball. They're pretty much at the 40, attacking again.
Plan A.
And that's the thing. And they stuck to their plans. And New South Wales didn't stick to it because you had Lomax. I think they kicked the Lomax once and they scored off it, but they didn't do it again. And for me, that was like, look, I'll be honest, watching that game, I didn't believe New South Wales were going to win. But they had their chances to kind of play their role and make that history. Like, for example, if Queensland dropped down to 12 players after 10 minutes, bro, DCE would have gave New Queensland every single chance to win that game. And that's what kind of, for me...
Well, at 2010, when Martin puts that hit on and we get the ball back after Lomax has scored, I think it was, easy to say in hindsight, you just kick to Lomax exclusively because he's been the best chaser. And to be fair to Nico and Jerome,
is that coaching? Is that more coaching?
Well, you tell me. Like that's what I was about to get to. Like, if as a coach you're watching from the box, the message had to come down. Just keep kicking to Lomax or Lowy. Just keep, hey Lowy, we need your best chase every single time you and Critter. Let's try and force some errors. Let's get now. That would also work for their plan because they could shift out to the other side.
And if they score from that, beautiful.
Yeah, if they get beat there, okay, we live with that. But we got to try and we're not going to win the game by defending our way to a victory. We have to throw the ball around, create some overlaps where we can. Yeah, I thought they waited too long. Again, the hindsight, the bench. Yeah, Burton would have slotted in there, and you defend without a middle, right? So. I'm sure Michael Maguire. I had Madge my first coach. Yeah, he is a great guy, very disciplined in what he does, hard taskmaster. But yeah, I think that's definitely some of the frustration in New South Wales fans this week.
Yeah, 100%. Look, we're going to talk more about your coaching experience now, but before we do, we're going to talk about the women's game, the Origin game. New South Wales and Queensland locked out a 1-1 battle now. I've got to show a lot of love to the Newcastle fans, man. They showed up yesterday in the pouring rain. And I know you called the game. How'd you see it, man? Because New South Wales were dominating, but Queensland kind of just hung in there, and then Lauren Brown slots that field goal. What's game 3 going to look like? Who's the favourite for that game?
Oh, Queensland are favourites now. They haven't played well at all in these 2 games so far. I think they've had moments, and that was from Brigginshaw, beautiful pass to Shisolka, and then Taryn Aitken. Yeah, they've had some really rough periods, but they were resilient on Thursday night. They hung in there. They kept turning up in that first onslaught, and then Davis scores at the back end. That was just fatigue. But then after that, I just felt like New South Wales weren't ruthless enough in their approach. Their attack, very sideways when they got down into the red zone, which created some indecision, and last plays became an issue. They actually, I mean, this is, again, footy head talk, but they changed the way that they attack. So when they shift the ball, Tonagato was actually in that sort of out the back, that halfback or Katoa role, and Pearson and Baxter were sort of staying on their edge. Ain't going to work. She's a fantastic ball runner, Tonagato. Yeah, up there with the elite ones. Yeah. Pearson can pass that ball out the back. They've played together. We played like that at the Dragons. I just think that they missed a trick there. They tried to get fancy with it, maybe, I don't know, but that, and then the recognition in the women's game, like the conditions, I think shouldn't have taken them by surprise. They led 12-4, short kickoff transition, like there was a lot that went into it, but I think they'd be waking up Friday morning, New South Wales, and going, how did we lose that? Because they were dominant. Koenig's been the player of the series so far. The way that she's gone into that middle role is exciting for the Roosters if you're looking at that. But I just felt like they missed a trick, and Queensland going back home to the crib, they get a distinct advantage.
Yeah, that should be a great game. And as I said, the quality of the women's game is also improving. Now we're going to talk about the NRLW season because it is 10 teams at the moment, and it's going to expand to 12 teams next year. I just want to know for yourself, look, 2021, you started coaching NRL Dragons W. What's been the evolution of the game? Because I know at the start, I think it was about 8 teams or 6 teams maybe.
4 teams, then to 6, then to 8.
Yeah, so how is that growth in the game, and how hard does it make your job with recruitment and sort of scouting players? Because I know that's tough.
Bro, I've been in the job 4 seasons, 3 years. I've had to rebuild a squad twice. Like it's, madness, absolute madness. And we haven't given enough time for those Because right now, like if you're 18, you expect an NRLW contract. That's where the game's at the moment. There's not that strong, okay, because when you're a man, wait your time, play your trade in under 19s, under 20s, reserve grade. Yeah, you might have to play 40, 50 games before you get to NRLW. Now it's it's a 9-game season. Then the best talent, we're lucky at St George because we've had the best talent come through the under 19s. We promoted 4 of those girls into our squad this year. But they expect a contract at 18. When they don't want to play reserve grade, just like the men at the moment. They don't want to get better at their craft. So that evolution's been frustrating, I think, for me. That's come through the old, wait your time, earn it, all that kind of stuff. But I love being in the space. I think that I carry a really important role for my daughters to show that whether they want to play rugby league or not, I don't know. Indiana probably won't, but Ivy definitely will. Showing them that you can have males, and this is the one thing. Yeah, I don't coach women's footy. I coach footy players. You see some of those girls; they come in from a full day of work, and then off the back of that, they are diligent with diet, training, execution. Like some of them are doing 12, 14-hour days just to try and make it, So we've got a responsibility to look after them, give them absolutely everything that we can, and then provide more opportunities for the pathways, which is why I've been passionate about it from the start. And my new role at the Dragons in that female pathways is working with those young girls, teaching them, explaining to them what the next level looks like, but also holding them accountable. Like I am an intense coach, and that's being kind. Like I am intense, emotional, but I care. Like I've had the greatest coaches of all time, and through that worked out a little way that suits me, and I'm still evolving. I think this year the girls will see a different side to me about being a lot more planned because I've got time, but the women deserve it. We keep talking like it's a fad, like it's the Matildas and it's great, it's going great. And why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? Women can have babies. That's the most magical thing, isn't it? Like when your missus has a baby, it's the most. You realize you go, I don't know how this happened. Like if you want to make a cake, you can see it. You put the batter in, you stir it, you put it in the oven, cooks. Similar to a baby. That is the most amazing thing ever. Women being able to make babies. Playing footy, and everyone always says, the skill level's getting better. No shit. They work so hard at it, and then you get these wankers online that are like, look at their bodies. And bro, come down to training. Let them tackle you, man. I just think of course it's going great. It's going to go great. They're all great people. They're all, they all behave. They're not in the pubs drinking. I'm probably sure there will be eventually, but, they're not. They're so grateful and intelligent, and they want it so bad that the space is growing. I just want us to all get on board with it, and then it becomes the norm. Like it shouldn't be a surprise that we've got a sellout for Origin. It's the pinnacle of the game. Other than playing for your country, like why is it such a big deal that it's a sellout? In 5 years' time, we should be at a core stadium. There should be 80,000 there.
No, I definitely agree. And you made I had goosebumps when you were talking about the whole the women creating the babies and stuff like that. Because my wife just went and experienced it, and I was mind blown, going, "Wow, what the hell? How is your body coping with this? Like, what are you doing? Like, can I do anything? Like, shit, I feel useless here."
Bro, the transformation that they undertake for babies is ridiculous.
And that's the thing that changes, man. Because I had a daughter, and bro, I always thought to myself, if I had a kid, I'm gonna do everything to make my son go into sports, and then the women are like, the girl will see what happens, or like maybe uni, things like that. But now I'm just looking at it like, your size, you're gonna be a great fullback, things like that. And that's the thing that kind of blows my mind with, especially with women's sport in general, but also worldwide. There's a lot more recognition on it, a lot more talent. Like I know you're scouting players from different sports, union, basketball, and things like that. But there was one thing that did surprise me. I wanted to ask you about Bronte Wilson. She got an exemption. I saw a great video with you and her telling her, and then her calling her dad and things like that. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, fingers crossed my daughter can call me like that one day. But what is the exemption rule, and how is it different on the NRLW side?
Yeah, so the NRLW brought in a rule that you have to be 18 to play. So the NRL don't. I think they've got a rule, but I'm not sure what the age is. But last year, 2 years ago, Jesse Southwell got an exemption. So pretty much they sit down, put you through a 6-month process where they get letters from myself about whether Bronte can handle it. Pretty much, who's responsible for it if you go into a pub to do a promo, all this stuff, psychologist. Bronte's such a great person. She left school at year 10 and she's a carpenter. So she's an apprentice carpenter. Super tough. But you've got to apply to be able to get it. And now she turns 18 during the preseason, during the season, but we have to get that exemption for her to be able to play and train, with us at a level where we feel like we can push it. Because the 4 development girls that we've got, of course you want to teach them, but you understand that they're still developing, so they're going to make mistakes. They're going to miss sessions there at school, all that kind of stuff. Whereas we wanted the exemptions for Bronte so that we could push the button and get her ready to potentially play round 1. So she's a great kid. We worked hard at it, and I think the NRL will look at our club, and we've got very good success in developing girls. I think if you come to our club as an NRLW player and you're in that sort of development space, you'll go on to the NRLW. That's the success rate we have, which is really good. And we pride ourselves on that. And then, or if you're in our system at St. George or Steelers, we had 3 girls go to another club this year. So we've had pretty much out of 30, probably 40 girls, we've had at least 7 or 8 go to the NRLW this year.
And fingers crossed, look, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the NRL Girls Dragons team, because I know especially, I love watching Tegan Berry there at fullback. But also, I know you guys have 14 players signed up for this year and next year. So it's going to be good to see that sort of team flow, team chemistry going on and seeing how they learn under yourself. I know we're a bit in a time constraint at the moment because there's a big game going on right there. But
check it.
Yeah, look, we're just going to end the show with, I got 3 fan questions for you. Yep. They're gonna vary, but I just want your honest take on it, and they're gonna be interesting too. All right. So before we do, I'd like to thank our major sponsor, Precise Accounting Group, for a dream teammate that'll help you get bang for your buck this tax season. Give the guys from Precise Accounting a call. Now, question number 1. As I said before, I'm a Tigers fan. Benji Marshall's flick pass got me through about 15 to 20 years of sort of torture, which is still going on. But you kind of remember those moments of what you're doing at that time. A lot of Dragons fans remember your field goal up against the West Tigers there, 13-12, broke my heart, and we haven't recovered since. So this fan question is from Tara Kabbalah, who loves the Dragons, probably your biggest fan. When I told him you were on the show, but he was over the moon. Who was your greatest teammate during that 2010 season and had the biggest impact on your career?
Probably 2. I'd say Bo Scott. He's sacrificed a lot to protect me defensively and on that edge. I mean, I was defending the centres. Gaz came back, and I owe a lot to Bowie and what he did for my career, because he pretty much moved him from back row to centre to protect me. So I'd definitely say him. I was very tight with Brett Morris. We used to listen to, this is how old we are, but 1 earpiece each.
Yeah,
we used to listen to Getting Jiggy with It was our last song before, and then I think Pursuit of Happiness, like DJ Mix. I would get us going. So, we're close with all those guys. But, the one thing Wayne would say is best mates, not teammates. Teammates, not best mates. So you don't have to be best mates with everyone. And at times we probably weren't best mates, but we all respected each other for the common purpose of the goal. And, those 2 guys definitely, personalities get in the way of everything, as we know. But, Bowie, I owe a lot to Bo.
Beautiful. Love of the game. Question number 2. What was your biggest what-if moment of your career? Was there a decision you wish, I wish I could take it back or do something a bit differently? Because I know you kind of went to the Super League a bit early with London Broncos. Is there anything
once I'd signed with Penrith, St. George, Penrith were going good at the time, and Gus didn't want me to go over and start the year early, and what happens if I didn't work out. So, I think what if we'd won that series in 2011 Origin? Yeah, I might have played another 3 or 4 series potentially, or maybe not. I don't know, but I guess that. Or what if we didn't play Origin in 2011? I think that sort of cost us. We had 8 guys backing up, and we lost to the Tigers in 11. So we could have been. I think that year. I think the major what if was what if we beat the Broncos in that 11 semi final? I think we would have potentially because Manly were a great side and Warriors were good, potentially gone back to back.
No, definitely. I think you would have went back to back because, I love that Dragons team. You guys all knew your role. It was literally like a mini Origin side coached by Wayne Bennett. Like you had your roles, you had 2 strike centers, and you had toughness by Jeremy Smith. There, I used to love Jeremy Smith. Question number 3. This is going to be a bit of a. I got to ask this question. Look, a lot of doggy fans, and my co-host for the NRL show is a doggy fan. I think you know what moment we're talking about here. The Jamal Idris try down there at Cogra. What happened? Can you just talk through us what happened in that moment? And because look, a lot of Doggies fans have trauma from yourself and Dragons for this moment. So I just want to ask, for your eyes, what happened? Just for closure for all these boys.
Okay. So just the disclaimer here is that you've made 2 grand finals after the incident, the Milkman incident. Last set of the game, we're up against it. I get a kick away. It's not a great kick. I go down to chase the kick. Luke Patton comes back. I turn to go, and Greg Eastwood's there. Now, did I throw my arms up and make my whole moment in that was to turn and go, and Greg was there. And then after that, like the referee says, it should have been a try, like this and that. My job wasn't to do that. My job was to make the referee make a decision. And in those moments, I mean, in the 15 years since it's happened, Doggies fans, some of you Doggies fans, and I respect you because I know how passionate you are, and I love that you love the game. You've had kids that go to school and you're still worried about this to happen in 09, right? I think you would agree. The one thing that we can agree on is that there's been worse dives since then. Like, you're making the bunker make a decision on an obstruction. It was no different. Like, Greg's in the way. I turned to go. Did I throw my arms up? Of course I did. Did I try and milk it? Of course I did. My job was, I don't care what Dogs fans think of me forever. I respect that you love the game. I respect that you are passionate. I love what the Dogs are doing this year from a neutral point of view when I commentate in their team and how many fans they get. I love all that because that's what makes the game. But at that moment, whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
Because roles reversed, if it was Josh Reynolds that did that to the Dragons,
He's a hero.
he's a hero.
No, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, we can't get. I mean, I did a news article. I still can't believe it makes news. I still can't believe people remember it. So I think that if it was your team, would you want your player to do whatever it takes to win?
100%. All you care about is that result at the end of the day with a full-time score.
The Bulldogs fans, I respect you. Honestly, I love you. You've got a great tradition, but the Milkman's still here.
And just to wrap up the show, I love of the game. Question of the day: would you rather a Dragons top 8 in 2024 or a Boston Celtics NBA championship?
Oh,
I know you're a diehard Celtics, so I got to ask this question.
I've got. For those people that don't know, the 3s on each arms for Larry Bird. It's my favourite number. I've got Paul Pierce's signature tattooed on my back.
Oof.
I proposed centre court at TD Garden to my wife. My firstborn, Indiana's named because that's where Larry Bird was born, in French Lick, Indiana. I love you, Flano, but man,
Hey, did Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown get it done this year? Surely.
Well, they're up at the moment, but I'd say Dragons top 8. But yeah,
I don't believe it.
Only because I know that someone at the Dragons will see this and they'll ride me for it. But yeah, I love the Celtics, man. It's going to be a great series. I think that they all match up well. I think as a Celtics fan, and you would, like, we're getting deep, but you would appreciate that we match up better against Dallas than what we would have against Minnesota. So I'm happy with that. But the one thing that I want to see from the Celts is keep being aggressive. We don't have to settle for one-on-one basketball. You know, when we play that team basketball, Drew Holiday's D'ing up. You know, Derek White's running the point a little bit. You know, Brown and Tatum defensively are on. And then Horford can't shoot 12 threes. If we want to win the series, we can't have him having 12. And for the traditionalists, can you imagine Shaquille O'Neal standing on the three-point line having 12 threes? Like,
Yeah. Our Horford's a shooter, but yeah, 12 threes is a bit too much.
I'll say Dragons top 8 because I know how hard Flano works and what he's done for me. So,
No, beautiful. I appreciate it, Jamie Soward. Thank you so much for the show and for giving love of the game, the time, and for being so open too, which we greatly respect that too. So thank you
no
so
worries,
much.
bro. We'll do it again one day. We'll cut into some of the other stuff in life. And good luck with your daughter. And yeah, all the best in being a dad, man. It's the best job in the world.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.